Have you ever divided a number by a decimal number? The number you're dividing could be a whole number or it could be a decimal number. But the point is that you are using a decimal number to divide it, which means that the numerator can be any type of number like whole number or a decimal number. But my interest is the denominator. The denominator must be a decimal number. So have you done such division before? If you have done anything like that, how was it? Did you find it difficult? Well, in our class today, I'll be teaching you how to divide a number by a decimal number. I have these two secrets I'm going to teach you, and with these two secrets, you are good to go. Once you apply these secrets, the next thing is just to go ahead and divide in the normal way we've learned in other sections under this division. Now you remember when we concluded our last class, I told you that in this class place you will need the knowledge of standard value of whole numbers, and I encouraged you to rewatch the video lesson on standard value of whole numbers. Of course, I told you also to remind yourself about place values of decimal digits. Here on the board, I've got these two secrets which you need as a guide when dealing with division of numbers by decimal numbers. There are just two of them. Now, secret number one, you are expected to identify the number that has more decimal digits. You'll be given numerator and denominator, and we are saying that the denominator must be a decimal number in this case. The numerator can be a whole number, it can also be a decimal number. So what you do is to check the numerator and the denominator, which one has more decimals, right? More decimal digits. So you have to identify that number that has more decimal digits. And of course, once you get that number that has more decimal digits, whether it is the numerator or the denominator, you need to check what the place value of the last decimal digit in that number is. I'm going to give you an example. Let us assume that I give you 20.1 divided by, let's say 5.32. 20.1 divided by 5.32. Now you take note that the denominator is 0.32. So there are two decimal digits in the denominator. Alright, 20.1 in numerator, 5.32 in denominator. The denominator has more decimal digits. There are two decimal digits in the denominator, as you can see, but the numerator has only one decimal digit. So your interest, what you'll be interested in order to start this calculation, is the denominator, 5.32, that has more decimal digits. Then you need to identify or find out its smallest place value. In that denominator, 5.32, that 2 is the smallest place value. Are you getting me right? I've taught you how to identify the smallest place value in any decimal digit, alright, or decimal number. So that 2 there, which is in hundredths, is the smallest decimal digit. So secret number 1 is telling you to identify the number that has more decimal digits and also find out the last decimal digit, the smallest place value of that decimal number. Then secret number 2, very important. Alright, this is why I actually told you to make sure you revise the notes or even watch the video lesson on standard value. Now from point 1, I already know the smallest place value of the number that has more decimal digits in what I'm about to divide. Secret number 2 said you should use the standard value of the whole number place value corresponding to the last decimal digit. That is the last decimal digit in the one you identify from point 1. Are you getting? Use the standard value of the whole number place value corresponding to it to multiply the numerator and the denominator of the problem you are solving. Alright, now I'm going to explain what I mean by this point 2, this secret number 2, because the sentence is a bit long and somehow, okay? So what do we mean by that? Now, I know that in the problem I'm solving, just like this example I gave to you, are you following, right? The denominator is the number that has more decimal digits, 0.32, okay? and the smallest decimal digit, which is the last decimal digit there, is 2. The place value is hundredths. What I'm going to do now is to ask myself, which place value in whole number has that pronunciation, correspond, is similar to hundredths? And of course, if you're talking about whole number, we have 100 in that case. That place value called 100. The standard value of 100 is 100. So you are going to use 100 to multiply the numerator 20.1 to also multiply the denominator 5.32. That's what this 0.2 is talking about. Now quickly, let me show you this one on the board as well. So imagine that you have 10 divided by 2.5. Now 10 divided by 2.5, you see clearly that the number that has small decimal digits is the denominator, 2.5. This has a decimal digit. The numerator does not have any decimal digit. So this will now be my interest. And this 2.5, this smallest place value, which is tenths. Are you following, right? If you go to whole number, which place value in whole number sounds like this tenths, okay? That's what I mean by corresponding place value. And that whole number, I think the place value that goes with it is tenths. Then you now ask yourself, what is the standard value of that tenths? The standard value of tenths is 10. We've learned all of those from our previous class. So all you need to do is come to this and multiply this numerator by this standard value 10, multiply the denominator by that standard value 10. Then once you multiply this, I'll get the value. The value will be equal to 100 over 25. You can now start your division. Are you following, right? So it's really very simple. Here I have this question number 1 to solve. And from that, of course, this secret will be made even more clearer. And of course, we are going to use this secret to guide us in solving that problem. I hope you're ready, right? It's a very simple thing. So let us go. Question number 1. Divide 50 by 2.5. So I'm going to have 50 divided by 2.5. Now clearly the denominator has more decimal digits. The numerator is not even a decimal number at all. Now coming to the denominator, this is 2.5. The smallest place value in the decimal digit part is this 0.5, this 5. Now the place value of this 5 is tenths. Now what you have to do is to go to whole number. Which place value sounds or corresponds to this tenths? The place value in whole number that corresponds, that is similar to this tenths, is tens. And what's the standard value of that tens? Standard value of tens is 10. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator of this number by 10. So this is 50 times 10 all over 2.5 times 10. Now, this will give us 500 in the numerator. This is going to give us 500 in the numerator. Now let me space, because I'm going to divide here now. Then 2.5 times 10 will give you 25. How did I know that it is going to be 25? Let me quickly show you the fastest way of getting to know it. Then I will show you another method of point movement. Now, in this 10, how many zeros do we have in 10? Just 1 0. Then this is 2.5. How many decimal digits do we have here? 1 decimal digit. Because it is 1 decimal digit, it will cancel 1 0 from this 10. And once this 0 is cancelled out, this point will also cancel. Are you following, right? What I'm talking about is this. I have 2.5 times 10. Now this is just 0.5, 1 decimal digit. And so, because it is 1 decimal digit, this 0 will go off to cancel 1 0 from what you're using to multiply. And once that happens, you will also cancel these points. You can see it, you cancel that point. And if you cancel that point, this becomes 25. Does that make sense? Now, when talking about point movement, this is another way you can solve it. 2.5 times 10. You just say it is equal to 2.5, then attach this number of zeros you have in 10. And how many zeros do we have in 10? Just 1 0. So you attach that 0. Then you move your point to the right once, because this is multiplication. If it is division, you move to the left once. So 2.5 times 10 will give us 2.50, but that is not the answer because you have not moved the point. I'm going to move the point just once to the right hand side. You can see that, right? So this becomes 25.0. And 25.0, this 0 is insignificant. It doesn't mean anything, you can just remove it. This becomes 25. Does that make sense? So I've taught you one of the fastest means of going by this, cancelling the number of zeros, which is as a result of the number of decimal digits you have here. Then another method you can also use in getting decimal number multiplied by, something like 10, 100, 1000. You can do it by moving points. All right, so the denominator is 25. We can now divide, right? We can now divide 500 divided by 25. Let's see what we are going to get. Going by this, we start with this 5. 5 divided by 25 is 0 remainder 5. So attach the 5 to this 0 here, and then you get 50. 50 divided by 25 is 2 times, exactly, no remainder. Then 0 divided by 25 is 0. And my answer is 20. I can now conclude 50 divided by 2.5. My answer is equal to 20. Answer. Please take note, because 25 divided 500 exactly, there is no last remainder. It means I have to divide 25 by itself to get 1 as well too. So that 20 divided by 1 will give us 20 as our answer. I've taken my time to explain how you do this division of any number by a decimal number. We are going to follow this pattern to solve every other question we are going to take under this part of division. So you see how I use this secret to solve this problem here. Point number 1, identifying the number that has more decimal digits, which in this case is 2.5, then get the smallest place value in that decimal number. In this case it is tenths. Then secret number 2, use the standard value of the place value of whole number that corresponds, that is similar, that agrees with that tenths here, to do your multiplication, which of course is tenths. If you're talking about whole numbers, tenths. The standard value is 10. Multiply top and bottom by 10. Then get your answer and divide. Let's move on to question number 2. Let us now conclude this part of division by solving these 2 questions. Question number 2 and 3 we have on the board, okay? Question number 2, we are required to cut 13.2 meter stick into 4.2 meter, correct to the nearest whole number. Correct to the nearest whole number. Alright, we are to cut. To cut simply means to share. And you know that share means dividing, alright? Okay, now question number 3, evaluate 2.34 divided by 2.1. Give your answer in 2 dp. We're going to solve this question one after the other. Question 2 first. I want you to take note of this statement. Correct to the nearest whole number. When I taught you rounding off, I explained to you what it means to get your answer in the nearest whole number. It means you have to round off from the 10th place value to the unit place value. So for this, let us see how we go about it. Cut 13.2 meter stick into 4.2 meter. So you want to ask yourself, have you broken something before? Alright, if I give you this marker and I say, okay, fine, cut them into a certain length. It simply means you have to share the marker into that length. So just like how many pieces of it will you get? That's our interest here. Solution to question number 2, we have 13.2, we are dividing it by 4.2. Of course, we have to check for the number that has more decimal digits. That's secret number 1. 13.2, 4.2. Does any one of them have more decimal digit than the other? No. Each of them is in the 10th place value. 1 dp, 1 decimal place. So, since this is 10th, it means that my interest will be any one of them in order for me to know the standard value of whole number I'm going to use in multiplying. And because this is tenths in the decimal digit, we go to the whole number part and think of what? Tenths. Because tenths is what sounds like tenths. So tenths in the whole number part correspond to tenths in the decimal digit part. Now, I will ask myself, what is the standard value of tenths? And of course, the standard value of tenths is 10. And so I will multiply the numerator and the denominator of my problem by 10. So this becomes 13.2 times 10 all over 4.2 times 10. And of course, I've done this multiplication. I've multiplied the numerator and denominator by 10. All I have to do now is to solve and get the value of the numerator and the value of the denominator. And I've told you there are two methods you can use in carrying out this multiplication. When you're multiplying something by 10, by 100, by 1000, 10,000, I mean, that multiplication is very sweet and fast. Is that okay? So how do we go about this? You can use point movement method, or you can use point cancelling method. Let me just do that on the board here. I will show you that of point movement first. 13.2, alright? We are multiplying by 10. So if you want to use the point movement method, this is going to give us 13.2. Now in this 10, how many zeros do we have there? Just one zero. So you attach the zero to this 13.2. Then since you are multiplying 13.2 by 10, you move the point just once to the right. So this is what we are going to get, you know. And this thing becomes 13.2.0. That is 132.0. 132.0, which is the same as 132. So the numerator of this problem is actually 132. Now, if you want to use the point cancelling method, which of course I think is always very fast in getting our answer, you're going to have 13.2, then you multiply by 10. Then check this number. How many decimal digit does it have? 13.2 has just one decimal digit. One decimal digit. So for that reason, you cancel one zero from this 10. You're using the multiply. And once you cancel this one zero, this point will disappear. And if you remove this point, this becomes 132. So just take off this point. Take off that point. And as you take it off, this becomes 132. Of course, times 1, which is the same as 132. Let's move on, please. The numerator is 132. And then I am dividing this by 4.2 times 10. From working out 4.2 times 10, the same method. Alright, 4.2 times 10 is simply 42. And how do we get a 42? Let me still quickly show you. I'll advise you, as I'm working on this, you can pause the video and copy this thing, alright? Just close to your solving of this so that you know how to get your answer when you're multiplying the decimal digit by something like 10, by 100, by 1000. You can use any of the methods I'm showing you here. 4.2, alright, times, let me use the point cancelling method, times 10. So if you work on that, this will give us simply 42. By the point movement method, you have 4.2. If you multiply by 10, so you rewrite it as 4.2, then attach the 0. Move your point how many times? One time, alright, to the right. And so this will give us 42.0, which is the same as 42. I think I've done justice to this, so take note. You can use any of the methods to quickly get your answer when you are multiplying a decimal number by something like 10, 100, 1000. And of course, keep going. Let me write that here. This is 42. Remember, if maybe we had something like 100 here, and this is just one decimal digit, the one decimal digit we cancel off one of the 0 from 100, 1 0 will be left. So that 1 0, once you get your answer, you attach it. Are you following? Anyway, I hope we'll see something like that in question number 3, the solution. You can pause the video and copy this to tell you how I got 132 over 42. Because at this point, I'm going to divide 132 by that 42 now. Let me wipe this. Let's go. 132 divided by 42. So, as usual, 1 divided by 42 is 0 remainder 1. Attach the 1 to this 3, you get 13. 13 divided by 42 again is 0 remainder 13. Attach the 13 to this 2. Of course, smaller number divided by bigger number is always 0 remainder the smaller number. So we now have 132 here to be divided by 42. This is 3 whole time. But not exactly, there will be remainder. And so I will indicate the remainder. What's going to be the remainder? Of course, the remainder is going to be 6. Because we're going to do 132 minus 3 times 42. Remember, the remainder formula. And if you do that, that should be 132 minus 126, which will give you remainder 6. So this is remainder 6. The answer of this is 003 remainder 6 over 42. 003 is the same as 3 whole number, 6 over 42. 6 over 42. Good. I like this part of fraction here because there is something I'm going to tell you today now. I have not actually solved any question that gave us the proper fraction part of this mixed fraction in this form, where something can still divide the numerator and denominator. Good enough, we have it here. So let me now tell you that once and for all. This is 3 whole numbers, 6 over 42. 6 over 42, something can divide that numerator and that denominator. Because in 6 times table, you will notice that 6 times 7 will give you 42. It therefore means that 6 can divide 6 to give us 1 here, and 6 can divide 42 to give us 7. So that this calculation is actually 3 whole number 1 over 7. Does that make sense? Now, at this point, the question said I should get my answer correct to the nearest whole number. So I am not even allowed to leave my answer as a mixed fraction. I'm to get it in decimal number. That's why the question said we should correct it to the nearest whole. So we have to change 3 whole number 1 over 7 to a decimal answer, okay? Let's do that. Of course, you've learned that already, how to get your answer in decimal. I am going to rewrite this as 3.1 over 7, and then this 3.1 over 7, you attach 0 to it. Let me put equal to here. I'm still continuing this calculation. Attach 0 to it, and then let's find out. If you divide this, 10 divided by 7 will be 1 whole, remainder 3. Are you following right? 10 divided by 7 is 1 whole, remainder 3. The question said I should correct my answer, I should get it to the nearest whole number. Getting my answer in the nearest whole number means I am to round off from the 10th place value to the unit place value. Now, if I give you this number, 3.1, because what I have here now, if you look at it, this is 3.1, remainder 3. I can still decide to attach 0 here, get 30 divided by 7. But it's a waste of time now because according to this question, I am expected to round off from the 10th place value to the unit place value. If I give you 3.1, what's the place value of this 3? That is correct. From our knowledge of place value, this is unit. And this one, what's the place value? Tenths. So if the question says we should correct to the nearest whole number, it means we are going to round off from this one, which is the 10th place value, to this unit. So I'm going to ask you, we have 3.1, look at it. That one, which is the 10th digit, is it up to 5? Because you know, if it is up to 5, then it means we'll round up by adding 1 to this 3. But if it is not up to 5, it means we'll round down. So this one is less than 5, therefore we are going to round down. Just change it to 0, cancel it off, it becomes 0. Are you following right? So this answer becomes 3.1. I don't need this remainder, it's of no use to me. Rounding off to get my answer in the nearest whole number now. Therefore, I'll conclude that 13.2 divided by 4.2 is equal to 3. 3 in the nearest whole number. Good. This answer I got here simply tells me that if I give you a stick that is 13.2 meters long and you measure 4.2 meters, use that 4.2 meters to cut the sticks. That is, each of the cut will be 4.2, 4.2, 4.2 meters. The number of pieces of sticks you are going to get will be 3 pieces. The remainder will not be up to 4.2 meters long. Are you getting me right? The remainder will not be up to 4.2 meters long. As you are cutting the 13.2 meter stick into 4.2 meter, the 4.2 meters length you are going to get will be 3 whole sticks. There will be remainder, but that remainder will not be up to 4.2 meters again. It's okay. Again, I've taken my time to explain all you need to know about this question. So let us move on to question number 3, the solution. 2.34 divided by 2.1. 2.34 divided by 2.1. Okay, so all over 2.1. This will be equal to we need to change them to whole numbers first. And how do we change them to whole numbers? I'll look at this numerator and denominator and ask myself, which of them has more decimal digits? Secret number one. And of course, if you see this, the numerator has more decimal digits. The numerator, we have 2.34. There are 2 decimal digits in the numerator. The denominator is just 1 decimal digit. So the one that has small decimal digit, which is the numerator, will now become my interest for me to know what I'll use in multiplying the numerator and denominator. So if you check, the smallest decimal digit there, the place value is hundredths. So I will now go to whole number, which place value in whole number correspond, is similar, sounds alike that of hundredths. And of course, the place value there is 100 in whole number, which the standard value of that place value called hundreds is what? 100. Therefore, I will multiply the numerator and denominator of this problem by 100. 2.1 times 100. If you work out this, you would get 234 divided by 210. You can use the point movement pattern, you can use the point cancellation pattern, the choice is yours. But I'll just work it out for you to see quickly. 2.34, if you multiply by 100, using the point cancellation method, okay? Now, this 2.34, how many decimal digits can you see there? There are 2 decimal digits. So because we have 2 decimal digits there, it's going to cancel 2 zeros from this 100. These 2 zeros will be cancelled off. And once that happens, you know that this point will disappear. So this point goes off. Are you following, right? And so our answer will become 234. 234. I'm going to write it here, 234. If you want to use point movement method, the choice is yours. You have 2.34, you multiply by 100, that will give you 2.34. You attach 2 zeros because this is having 2 zeros in 100. Move your point 1 and 2. So if you look at this, this becomes 234.00, which is the same as 234. So you can see, very simple. Now for the denominator, I told you the value will be 210. How did I get that? Quickly, let me show you by the point cancellation method. You are multiplying by 100, so this will now become equal to, let's take a look at this. By a point method, 2.1, how many decimal digits do we have there? Just 1 decimal digit. Therefore, because 2.1 has only 1 decimal digit, it is going to cancel 1 zero from 100. If it cancels 1 zero from 100, this point will disappear. That point will disappear, it will go off. If it goes off, this becomes 21 times 10, which is simply, to get your answer, simply write 21, then attach the remaining 0. That is 210. You can do the point movement method if that is the one you prefer. Let me show you that there. Let me say or. In the point movement, you have 2.1, you're multiplying by 100, so this will become 2.1, attach your 2 zeros. Then move your point how many times? 2 times to the right. Because in 100, we have 2 zeros. You move your point 2 times to the right, 1 and 2, which gives us 210.0, which is the same as 210, 210. Wow, this is very wonderful. See, I try to carry you one step ahead whenever we have our classes. It's for our own good. And as a matter of fact, as we are approaching the end of division, telling you that we'll be doing great things in mathematics, because that will give us room, okay, the chance, the right to pick any topic in mathematics and deal with it. Yeah, it's 1 plus 1. Okay, let us go. This is 210. I hope you pause this video at this point and then copy out this, how I got these values from this multiplication, okay? I'm now going to divide 234 by 210. Remember the question said I should get my answer in 2 DP, 2 decimal places. So this is going to be equal to, I'll come over here and then divide. If you do 2 divided by 210, you are going to get 0, remainder 2. Attach the 2 to this 3, you get 23. 23 divided by 210 will still give you 0, remainder 23. Attach the 23 to this 4. And divide that 234 here by 210. Let's find out. 234 divided by 210. What will be our answer? So here you need your multiplication. 210 times 2. which of course you can use your place value multiplication to know how many times 210 can divide 234. So let us find out. 234 divided by 210, one whole time. Are you following, right? One whole time. But there will be remainder. Of course, the remainder is going to be 24. The remainder will be 24. Let me indicate it. Remainder 24. What do we do with the remainder? But if you look at this, the answer of this is going to be one whole number, 24 over 210. 24 over 210. Now, if I am to get my answer in 2 decimal places, 2 dp, it means this mixed fraction will be changed to a decimal value, which I've taught you how to do that already. So let us do that quickly and see. This is equal to 1.24 all over 210. Then we're going to attach 0 to that 24. If you attach 0 to 24, you get 240. Divide that 240 by 210. If we divide 240 by 210, how many times will that be? Once again, it's going to be one whole time. That is one whole time, and then the remainder is going to be 30. Remainder 30. Okay? Now this one whole time, I need to take note of it because it's going to be part of my decimal digit answer. What do I do to that remainder 30? I'm going to attach 0 to it and then divide it again by 210. Alright? 300 divided by 210. And again, it's going to give us one whole time. We are going to get remainder 90. Remainder 90. I will attach 0 to this and then divide it by 210 again. And that is going to give me 4 whole time. Let me indicate 4 whole times. And then there's going to be remainder. How do we get that remainder? I think I have to underline this. This is also part of our decimal digit, the second decimal place, okay? Alright, 900 divided by 210 will be 4 whole times. Let me underline that 4 whole times. It's part of our decimal digit answer. What's going to be the remainder? You know the remainder formula. That is why I taught you that formula. When the number is becoming big, are you following, right? You can use the remainder formula to get your remainder quickly. And you know the remainder formula is what you divided, which here is 900 minus the number of times you got, the quotient, which is 4, times what you used in dividing, which is 210. If you do that, 900 minus, open bracket, 4 times 210, it's going to give us remainder 60. Alright? I don't need to attach 0 here again and divide by 210. Why? I've gotten 3 decimal digits. 1, 2, 3. I am to get my answer in 2 decimal place. Is that okay? So since I've gotten the third one, it's just for me to find out if the third one is up to rounding up or rounding down. So I'll round it off to the second decimal place. I think I can conclude my answer here now. Therefore, 2.34 divided by 2.1, my answer is going to be 1. These are first decimal digits. These are second decimal digits, and these are our third decimal digits. So that is 114. And if you work on this will be equal to 1.11. Alright, in 2 dp, in 2 decimal places. And of course, I am done solving this problem. I'm done solving this problem. Now, this seems to be a bit long because of the number we're dealing with is big. Now, the fact that the number is big does not really matter. If you have a good knowledge of your multiplication, you play around these things. Having solved these questions, I think the main thing you learned from this part of division of numbers by decimal numbers, is how to change a decimal number to a whole number by multiplying it using a standard value of whole number. Are you getting me right? The division is no longer a problem. I've taught you everything you need to know about division from our past classes under different sections of division. And I told you an excellent knowledge of multiplication is just what you need. I hope you enjoyed and understood this division. You can replay the video and rewatch it again. Okay? Alright, this is good. And this is how we've come to the end of this part of division. In our next class, where I'll be taking you to section 5 of division, the last part of division, why I can't wait for that day to come. as we round off basic arithmetic, because like I said, that prepares you to face any topic in mathematics. So in our next class, I'll be teaching you word problem leading to division. I hope you'll be prepared for that class. Now, just as a work for you to do in preparation for that class, I urge you, okay, to watch the video lesson on word problem leading to multiplication, because you need as much as 99% knowledge of how we solve problems on that. Are you following me, right? You need that knowledge to be able to handle word problem leading to division. Please make sure you rewatch that video lesson so that our next class will be very interesting, like today's own was. Is that okay? I'll be meeting you in our next class. Please take good care of yourself. Remember to do your work. So watch the video, copy the lesson notes below this video lesson. And then I'll meet you in our next class.